Mega Man. You ever notice how things taste better when you're drinking them out of an awesome mug? So Marvel has recently acquired the rights to use Spider-Man in their movies. This could be interesting. Ever since they announced that they have the rights to use him, people have been kind of speculating. What are they going to use him for? How's he going to fit into the plans that they already laid out? Because they did basically show us the entire layout of all the movies that they're going to be making for the next, 100 years. So naturally we're assuming they're going to stick him into Civil War, because he's kind of a integral part of that Civil War storyline between Cap and Iron Man. He's kind of the voice in the middle of it all, the most conflicted character. He doesn't know whether to side with Iron Man or whether to go with Cap. I'm assuming that's probably going to be his biggest role as far as appearing in these Marvel movies, at least until they get to the Infinity Gauntlet stuff later on down the line. Now, unless I'm mistaken, I think Civil War is the third Captain America movie, which means they still got a little bit of time before they develop it. They got to get through another Avengers movie first. Now, are they going to just hack some Spider-Man side plot in there? I don't think they got enough time to do that. This is already Valentine's Day today. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. That only gives them a couple of months before the release of the Avengers movie, so I don't think they got enough time to throw together a Spider-Man plot in there. It also kind of begs the question, are they going to bother with giving Spider-Man an origin, or are they just going to go off the assumption that people already know about Spider-Man? Here's my thing on this. They can go one of two ways. We've had 2 origin stories for Spider-Man in the past 15 years or whatever since the Tobey Maguire movie came out, so we don't really need to see that crap again. It'll just be boring. It was boring the second time in Amazing Spider-Man. That movie was boring. So we don't need to see that again, which brings me to my second point, and I think the way they probably should go, but they haven't called me to confirm this with me, so I don't know if it's actually going to happen. Basically, what I'd like to see is something quick, where, let's say Captain America's fighting a bad guy, and then suddenly you see a web hit the bad guy, and in comes Spider-Man just swinging, and he beats up some guy. And Cap says, oh, thanks, Spider-Man, and him and Spider-Man have a little exchange. And then maybe it's a separate character off to the side, like Black Widow or Banner or somebody could just be like, who was that? And then it'd be like, oh, that's Spider-Man. He's got this power and this power and this power. And right there, all you need to know about Spider-Man, just from one little conversation with Captain America and one little bit of side dialogue. You don't need to go into a whole big origin story, because who cares? That's also trusting on the fact that people in that theater are fans of the source material and already know who Spider-Man is and kind of what his backstory is. And let's also assume that anybody who isn't a comic book fan in that theater has at least seen any of the other Spider-Man movies and is kind of all clued up on exactly what he is and how he got that way. Another big thing I've seen about Spider-Man in these movies is, well, who's going to play him and which version of Spider-Man is it going to be? A lot of people have suggested that a black actor should take the role and portray the Miles Morales version, which is the Ultimate Spider-Man presently. Originally, Ultimate Spider-Man was also Peter Parker, but then they did away with that and kind of had a different take on the story. I'm not positive. I didn't really read any of that. Now, Miles Morales would make sense to include, since most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe seems to be more in line with the Ultimates anyway than it does with the standard Marvel Universe, I guess, the 616. But the parallels between the Cinematic Universe and the Ultimates are really easy to spot. Right on down to Nick Fury being Samuel L. Jackson. Matter of fact, in the first Ultimates book, when somebody's joking around saying, hey, who would play us in movies, Nick Fury says, Samuel L. Jackson, of course. Which is interesting because he was drawn to look just like Samuel L. Jackson. I could show you it. It's right here, where he says, Mr. Samuel L. Jackson would play me. Of course. Keeping that in mind, ironically, later on down the line, we see in, I think it was Ultimate Hulk versus Wolverine, Cap and Iron Man have a little bit of a dialogue about a hypothetical registration act. Interestingly enough, Cap takes the side of pro-registration, and Iron Man is just like, nah, that would never fly, we're not doing that, which is opposite to what they actually did in the Civil War story, leading to a little more speculation. Are the sides going to be the same as they were in the original Civil War story, or are they going to be swapped? I'm thinking they're going to be the same, because after discussing this with a couple of friends of mine, Iron Man is kind of in a dark place after Iron Man 3, and Cap, after Captain America 2, with the whole Hydra thing, probably doesn't trust S.H.I.E.L.D., not really too big on the whole government controlling everything aspect. So registration doesn't seem like something the Cap would be into at this point. Getting back to Spider-Man, there were some people that were talking about whether it would be Miles Morales or whether they would go with Peter Parker and who would play him. And many have suggested this guy, something Glover. I'm not familiar with the guy. I don't know what he's in, but It's a black actor, so a lot of people would instantly just think Miles Morales. But it wouldn't be the first time they've just changed the character's ethnicity for the movie from the original source material. And it probably wouldn't be the first time that people bitched about it, because it happens quite a lot. Now, a lot of comic book fans will have problems with this if they cast a black guy to play Peter Parker, who was always a white character. I get that. But at the same time, if he plays a good character, and if he nails the role, who cares? You're watching a movie about comic book characters and superheroes and stuff. And they're already changing Quicksilver and Wanda to be, like, Inhumans or something, right? And we know they're goddamn mutants, so fuck you, Marvel. Not really. I mean, I'll still go see the movie. But I wish something could happen with the X-Men, because I hate seeing them get shit on so bad. Boy, I've been kind of rambling here. I gotta tighten this up. So in closing, I think it's interesting that Spider-Man is now going to be a part of all this cinematic universe. I don't think... Well, let me scratch that. I hope he doesn't become a main focal point of all of this, outside of Civil War, of course, because it's interesting to see things in his perspective in there. What are your thoughts? Do you have any opinions on where they should put Spider-Man, how they should introduce him, whether he should just be pre-established, or whether they should do like a quick, like, 5-minute origin sequence? Hey, look at that kid over there get bit by a spider. And now he can stick to the ceiling. And he's real strong and he can throw cars. That's really all you need. I mean, just, you know, whatever. Also want to thank everybody who watched Godzilla Aftermath, the second episode. Those who saw it said they really enjoyed it. I personally think it's some of the most fun I've had doing an animation in a long time. It's a lot of work with those monsters, because in the original movies, all the monsters were constantly kind of like shaking around just from the way that their costumes were. So I tried to replicate that, which is just a lot of animating. Like, they're never just standing still. Also, the baby Godzilla creeped some people out, which was interesting. It's these eyes. Looking at it now, I can understand that. This is pretty terrifying. I'd have to just put that away. Hide him in a box or something somewhere. And speaking of Godzilla in boxes, don't forget that we got a blind box to open. I went with another classic Godzilla. They have the 2014 series, too, which I think has the Godzilla from that movie and a couple of the Mutos, and maybe it is more than one of the Godzilla. I don't know. But I like the classic ones. I don't know what other ones are in this. We all saw last time I got a King Kong vs. Godzilla version. So I don't know if this is all just different versions of Godzilla or if there are other monsters involved too. Can you imagine? If I got a Megalon right now, I would shit. Let's see what's happening. Hey now. Get this bad boy. This looks like it's a... well, it's definitely a late 80s to 90s Godzilla. I'm not sure specifically which movie it's from, but he's got 4 toes on each foot, so hey, that's kind of a giveaway. Tell me what you think. I'm not sure exactly which movie this would be from. I can't really tell them apart unless it's, you know, very, very specific designs. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the whole Spider-Man thing. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Later on.